Yo, give me 1 second, y'all. We're gonna start the stream in just a second. Alright, let's go and get into Turf Wars. Give me 1 second, chat. I'll read the noti out.
Today, on Just the Facts, with J. Jonah Jameson, the Mafia are turning the streets of Manhattan into a gang war. Why, you ask?
Yo, chat, give me 1 second.
Nobody listened to me when they had the chance. If we just cleaned up the city, returned to our collective senses, and run Spider-Man out of town, not necessarily in that order, then a psychopathic crime boss wouldn't be wrecking New York in some misguided pursuit of that same goal. Look, Hammerhead's impulse to take us back to a simpler time before any of us had heard of isn't wrong, but his methods are obscene. Attacking the police, terrifying citizens, the man gives simpler times a bad name. Like this infernal sodium-free beverage I'm being forced by the medical establishment to drink for my health gives soda a bad name. And meanwhile, where's our city's so-called savior, Spider-Man, in all this? I need to lay down.
All units, we have reports of a crash. Nearest officer, please proceed to Roseville.
Hey, yo, chat. Chat, check 1 2, check 1 2, chat. Yo. Yo, chat. Yo, make sure you guys like the live stream. Like the live stream. We're gonna be here talking about what's going on. Like, just in general in the movie, bro. Like, that movie was so good, dude.
Friends?
There are a few things, though, that are actually interesting. Starting off with the way that the, I can spoil the whole movie for those guys who have not seen the movie yet. Click off now. If you guys are watching this after it goes up, click off now unless you guys haven't seen the movie yet. But this movie was hands down like one of the best Spider-Man movies that I have seen in a while. Then also there were a few Easter eggs that I caught in there. I can tell you like all the Easter eggs I caught in there, but every fight scene was just choreographed right, especially since they are apparently, and I'm not trying to say this is like as a bad way, but it seems like they did execute everything perfectly. Like the way that the Goblin was comic book accurate. Chat, there's so much I can do. If you guys did not see that movie, there's a scene, oh boy. Then I like the idea about how they took like the classic Iron Spider and put it onto I believe it was this suit, right? He did combine those two, right? Yeah, he combined these two suits. He combined this one and this one, I think. Yeah, he combined this one right here. This spider was a lot larger on that though. But seeing Andrew and Toby on the screen was just literally, oh my gosh, dude, that was fire. That was fire. I almost just lost, like, chat, I'm gonna let you know right now, I almost lost my shit when Garfield caught MJ. I almost lost my shit. Because the thing was, I was gonna say, if you do not catch her. But anyway, today we're gonna be talking about Spider-Man 4 and Spider-Man 3, or TASM 3 actually. We're gonna be talking about TASM 3. I feel like with TASM 3, they're going to have to continue on where Andrew Garfield left off, because in a tweet, I believe it was someone mentioned on Twitter. Someone mentioned on Twitter that Andrew Garfield would be glad to come back as Spider-Man, just so long as there's a whole bunch. I believe it was like right here. I believe he said that he would not mind coming as Spider-Man again. I'm pretty sure. Hold on, chat. He said that he wouldn't mind coming back as Spider-Man again, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, because Andrew's trending. Yeah, the thing is, chat, is that Garfield is trending. And that was literally the whole entire thing. Garfield was trending, and after that, he also said that he would not mind coming back as Spider-Man again. So that will leave us room for TASM 3, which could possibly end up taking place during Morbius. Like, he could end up in Morbius somehow, you know what I'm saying? Because everything that was going on in that movie pretty much lined up with everything that was possible. And on top of that, chat, it's like we already knew that Andrew was gonna be in the movie anyway. It's like we already knew. He just kept on denying it after that we see him on the and after that we see him on the, and on top of it, there was already leaked footage of him on the set of the new movie too. But seeing Andrew Garfield come back in the movie, this pretty much confirms that TASM 3 is back in development then. Because the thing is that Andrew could possibly come back for TASM 3, so we're gonna go ahead and put that down. But for TASM 3, we need to figure out what villains would be in TASM 3 though. People have been saying that Venom would be a possibility because Sony and Marvel wants to have both of them together. But then again, right before Eddie got snapped back into his dimension, there was a little bit of symbiote that was left. which could possibly lead towards Tom getting the symbiote going down a darker path. And that's another thing that we're going to get into too. We're going to have to talk about Spider-Man. We're going to have to talk about Spider-Man for the MCU as well. Because with this trilogy over with, there's a new trilogy that's coming. And obviously, you know, they want to minimize it, so they want to keep Holland as their main Spider-Man. Especially since it has like another trilogy. But as you guys did not know, there is a few PlayStation Easter eggs that I found in that movie. One was Aunt May's tombstone, and as well as one of them was Peter's apartment that we saw at the beginning of this game. That we saw at the beginning of the game.
Our street.
Because like if you go here, I'm pretty sure Peter's apartment is still. It's police department. Where's Peter's police? It's another police department. Police department. God dang, I totally forgot where my boy lived.
Are safer than
Hold on,
ever.
chat.
Thanks to the tireless efforts of the swinging spectacle, Spider-Man. Oh, just kidding! Our streets are actually in more literal danger than they've ever been because it seems like someone made Hammerhead's idiot men resort to digging up roads in the middle of rush hour! It's clear that the
But pretty
only
much,
way crime boss Hammerhead thinks he can get people to listen to his pleas for a return to decency is by actually razing this city to the ground. And while I frankly find the sentiment admirable, just like my doctor thinks it's admirable that I cut back on alcohol consumption, I think we can all agree that we'd much rather get home on time and alive than late and dead. Meanwhile,
Okay, so chat,
Spider-Man,
if it's
seems,
going down the path
actively
of
assisting the
Insomniac,
mafia during
possibly.
all this.
Because think about it, that apartment was
or
ending up going to be
Spider-Mob?
Peter's. Think about it.
You decide.
Shut up, Jameson. It's not like you. I need you to shut up, Jameson. Okay, so obviously with the there were so many references, legit, in that ending right there, where he got everybody, where he erased everybody's memory of him being Spider-Man. There's so many Easter eggs right there as soon as he goes in that apartment. It seems like Marvel is going the Insomniac route with this because of the fact that during that whole entire thing, there is similarities between the one that we know from Insomniac, the one that we know from the game, and the one that we saw in Homecoming. The apartment obviously was referenced to Insomniac. Because think about it, we saw, if I can pull it up right here, I know it's like mad spoilers, but if you go back and compare the scene where Peter gets evicted from the apartment in the game, whenever he walks in, there are so many similarities, and there are so many obvious reasons why I think that Spider-Man 4 will obviously happen. Like, in Spider-Man 4 for the MCU, we could get introduced to Miles Morales down the line, because we've already been introduced to, probably already been introduced to Aaron Davis, already been introduced to his uncle. Give me 1 second, chat. Give me 1 second, chat. Okay, so chat, all I'm going to say is that with that ending scene, that leaves us open for like a wide amount of possibilities, because now they're going, because obviously in this whole entire movie it was meant for, excuse me, it was meant for this Peter to be able to do everything on his own, like he's taking matters in his own hands. But the only thing is, for the fact like him taking matters in his hands is going to pretty much end up costing him a lot of things. Like for one, obviously, if you guys didn't see that part, I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but whenever Goblin showed up, Goblin almost nearly, I mean, Peter almost nearly killed him, and I was like, dang, my boy's getting down like this?
No. Typically,
I was like, my boy is getting down like this? He's out here doing this? But with that, it's going to be a little bit tougher to beat, because I feel like towards Spider-Man 4, obviously he's going into college, which means that obviously MJ and Ned are going to MIT possibly. And by the way, we'll get into that in a second, because they literally don't remember who he is. We'll get into that in a second. That means that if Peter is in the apartment, he's obviously going to Empire State.
Mary Jane Watson, Associate Editor. Begin
So he's
research
obviously going
notes.
to end up going to
What started
Empire
as a museum
State,
heist a few days ago has turned into
which would
a brutal assault on the
equal
city.
us getting
And the
introduced to
casualties
the
keep
Peace Center,
piling
which
up.
we
Last night, after almost killing
got
Majid on
introduced to in this
Hammerhead,
movie,
Captain Yuri Watanabe was forced into administrative leave.
which would
Sources say she
also
told the
in
chief,
turn.
"This won't stop
But
me." Note.
that's the only
Follow
thing
up
that
on
they're.
this
That's the
later.
only thing that I got
Seems like this
confused
isn't
on
the end of your
is
story.
if they're doing Spider-Man
Meanwhile,
4, that
Hammerhead,
means that we're
who
going to
was
introduce the
pronounced
Feast,
dead
we're going to
at the
introduce to
scene,
everybody
was
down the line,
revived and escaped
which would
custody.
also mean that we can introduce
Police
to
are searching
more of
for
a
him, but there are no
PlayStation,
solid leads.
you know,
His
type
men are
Spider-Man
continuing to
for a
target
movie.
Sable weaponry and vehicles, including something called Project Olympus. From what we can gather, Project Olympus is an Oscorp and Sable-funded initiative. Bioenhancement technology meant to transform people into indestructible super soldiers. Hammerhead is ruthless and insane, and now apparently indestructible. But first things first, figure out where Hammerhead is hiding. The question is, what are we gonna do when we find him?
Hey, MJ. I'm following the police to an Oscorp plant. Sounds like Hammerhead's guys
I
are at
legit.
it
Whoa,
again.
whoa, whoa,
Got any
whoa,
updates
whoa,
on Yuri?
whoa.
Yet. You miss her, don't you?
Yeah. We were a good team. I mean, not like me and you, but, you know.
I know.
Alright, but continuing on with what I was saying, with the idea that Peter is going to Empire State, that would leave us more vital possibilities, because we've already been introduced to the Feast Center, and on top of that, that's going to be a lot more tough because of what's been going on and stuff, with the idea that I believe with the fact that wait, hold up. Yeah, with the fact that with Peter going to ESU, he would have the chance to actually keep his identity a secret, but down the line at some point that means that we're going to get introduced to Norman Osborn in Spider-Man 4, and that would lead us down the road to have like our own Doc Ock in the MCU that isn't played by Alfred Molina.
Vacation? I'm not sure I know what that
Like,
word
think about it,
means.
like the possibilities are so wide right now because of what Strange did, and because of the fact that now that MJ and Ned don't know who Peter is, he's gonna have to potentially find new friends. So they reset him, and they gave him the apartment for the PS4 version for that to work and stuff. The thing that I'm going to say is that towards that ending, whenever he's swinging around and stuff like that, the suit kind of resembles the one that we know from the game. So they went down the Insomniac's path, and they gave us the classic suit, I believe it was, or did they give us this one? They probably gave us this one, but this one's all ripped and stuff, so it's probably like the classic suit. This one's classic suit damage. This one right here, they gave us this one right here, but down the line, obviously in that movie, he's gonna swap over to this one. For Spider-Man 4, he's probably gonna swap over to the advanced suit and have like more of a different type of role in there, because he's gonna introduce the Dr. Octopus in that one. Well, not this one that we know, but a different one. Which will possibly end up him squaring off with... If I can find my character list. Okay. So obviously down the line we are getting introduced to, obviously this Spider-Man is 23. So by the time Spider-Man 4 comes in development, it's already in development, but Tom has to sign off on it. Since Tom is 25, that means that if they're going the game route, he would be 23 right here. So I'm speculating that during Spider-Man 4, he's probably ended up being 23. Well, his Peter's going to be obviously 23 years old, which will mean that we would be getting introduced to. I want to say we would probably end up getting introduced to Mary Jane again, but I don't really know how that would work. But we would probably end up getting introduced, considering that since they are taking the Insomniac route, we would possibly end up getting introduced to, obviously, Kingpin, Yuri, our own version of Dr. Octopus, or the MCU version of Dr. Octopus, which is technically going to be the Insomniac version. There's no Aunt May. Obviously, chat, there is no Aunt May in the MCU anymore because they Goblin killed her, basically. Goblin got her. But we will be getting introduced to, we will be getting introduced to, Martin Lee, who happens to be Mr. Negative. If you guys didn't see the playthrough, we will be getting introduced to Mr. Negative. Which means that they will be, I'm speculating this as well, they will be going to the Devil's Breath Crisis, which I'm hoping they will go into Devil's Breath Crisis, because now it's pretty much anybody's game. Like, it's pretty much Marvel's game now. They can put, like, any character, you know, that they want to now, considering that we are now in the MCU Insomniac era. Which, I mean, since we're obviously now in that era, we will be getting introduced to Yuri, who will end up being like Spider-Man's friend and stuff for the New York City Police. We will also be getting introduced to Norman Osborn. We need to get introduced to Norman Osborn. This version is obviously from Raimi's. It's obviously from Tobey's universe, so we obviously are going to be getting introduced to that in that one as well. Along with that, we should be getting Miles Morales, and we should be getting introduced to Miles Morales in this one too, because since they went down that route, they are looking for, I'm pretty sure this is how they're going to look at. They're probably going to be looking for, you know, someone to play Miles Morales in live action, because we still don't have the chance to get a live action Miles Morales yet, because of Into the Spider-Verse. We should, honestly though, we are going to be getting introduced to a whole lot of characters. Like, they can play off, like, Silver Sable and stuff like that if they're looking for actually play like Silver Sable. Now, for villains and stuff like that, I'm pretty sure that down the line, obviously Black Cat is going to be in the movie. Like, hands down. She's going to have to be in a movie, probably helping, you know, Spider-Man and stuff like that. Possibly, you know, having, like, another romantic interest now that MJ doesn't know who Peter is. Which would be interesting. I want to see how that plays off. Because we've never got a Black Cat unless they are pulling from TASM 2. They could end up getting that version of Black Cat in there, because originally Black Cat was supposed to be in TASM 3. But, like, think about it. Like, this opens up a wide range of possibilities, especially with Morbius. Like, especially with Morbius. Oh, wait, what if we get introduced to Tombstone? Considering that it's legit anybody's game, we still have these characters. And we also have Kingpin and Hawkeye as well. So Hawkeye and Kingpin and Daredevil, we're going to have all of them in the MCU now. Which will mean that, obviously, around the map and stuff like that, with Peter having on that new suit, that would mean that Hell's Kitchen would be a thing now. That would mean that, because think about it, we never got a chance to see Hell's Kitchen anywhere. Because think about it, the whole entire main story, I think the first part of the I remember. Yeah, the first part of the story takes place, like, right after No Way Home in Midtown. And on top of that, with Peter donning the classic red and blue suit, this will mean that now that he is pretty much alone at this point, so they gave him a soft reset, which will mean that down the line at some point, nobody doesn't know who he is. He's no longer an Avenger. He's out on his own. So with him donning that, with him going to ESU, there is a chance that he might be introduced to more people that are down to, you know, keep him a secret, all this, right? At least that's what I'm thinking. At least that's what I am speculating is going to happen. Because everybody was saying, like, for example, like, since they stopped reset him, that means that he's going to obviously end up getting, you know, all the stuff that we know from the game, like the spider drone, the electro web. He's working on his own. Oh, this also could lead into the raft.
Wait a minute. Is this a dance-off? I love those. It's my turn.
That means that we could also get introduced to the raft in a sense.
I kind of miss seeing your desperate attempts at 70s gangster fashion.
Oh wow, that didn't even work. Okay.
You guys get right to the point, don't you?
But obviously, guys, with that, I think that's literally everything that they can do. Because of the fact that there's so much that could be going on in Spider-Man 4 if that ever becomes a thing. Well, I think it's already becoming a thing because of the fact, like, there's like 2 more trilogies left. I mean, there's like 3 more left. Why is nobody laughing?
Wait, maybe you're not laughing because you guys really are all named Vinny. If that's the case, nice to meet you, Vinny. And Vinny. And all you other Vinnies.
But yeah, that means that with this new and improved one, that means that Toby can probably come back for, say, like, a Spider-Man 4 that was also unannounced, stuff like that. So they could have a Sony, they already have, like, multiple of them already. Oh my god, I hate these guys. Come on, Spider Bro. No! Okay. Now, obviously, we're gonna go ahead and get into like certain Easter eggs and stuff that I did see in the movie. Obviously, there was May's tombstone, which if you guys haven't played Spider-Man PS4, obviously for that message it says if you help one, you help every, or if you help someone, you help everyone. That was a reference from the PS4 game. They are taking it in the range of the games. They are going to be introducing, like, there's gonna be like a whole bunch of stuff happening in that movie. Since we are gonna be getting introduced to Daredevil, I'm pretty sure that we are gonna get introduced to Hell's Kitchen somewhere down the line, because it hasn't been mentioned at all in the MCU. Matter of fact, I need to change my suit right now, actually. As well as, don't forget to like the stream and subscribe! Don't forget to like the stream, don't forget to leave a sub.
Come on, Spider-Man! Let's play Save the Pigs. Well, that's just rude.
That's just rude.
Jetpack guy does not have good intentions. Oh, hello, ambush guys. Where'd your buddy go? No one.
Like, think about it. If they went in this route, like, this is literally like the best route that they could have taken.
Cool jetpack.
Which would mean that we would also potentially get introduced to legit everybody that we know from the other Spider-Mans.
Maybe you wouldn't be so angry all the time.
Alright, now we're gonna talk about Andrew Spider-Man. That's actually what we're gonna talk about. Andrew could come back for a third one. Because, like, we never got a chance to see how his Spider-Man was going to end. And with the idea that we never got a chance to see how his was gonna end, it would make perfect sense. Like, say if Venom 3 takes place in his universe. Well, the thing is, Morbius is obviously taking place there. But the only thing is for the fact that they have Raimi's Spider-Man there, so it has to take place like somewhere between or after the events of No Way Home, which means that probably No Way Home will end up being like the main catalyst. Which I'm so excited to see. Like, there's so much to break down for this, along with the end credit scene. But the favorite part, my part that, if you guys want to know my favorite part, it was the whole entire fight with... Honestly, my whole entire part was for the fact that Andrew and Toby showed up to tell the MCU, Peter Parker, about, you know, everything they've been through and how he was one of them like them. How, you know, you should fight for good and you should, you know, do everything you can. Now during this, that means that obviously Peter is eventually going to get a job at the Daily Bugle, which is going to be owned by the one and only J. Jonah Jameson himself. And on top of that, Tom did say that they wanted some Insomniac.
Who do you work for?
They wanted some Insomniac Spider-Man in No Way Home, because the game was so big and the game was so popular that they had to.
I love your new hovercrafty thing.
They just had to put it in there.
You know.
Yeah, I talk a lot better without a gun in my face.
You have 3 seconds.
Like, their non-MCU approach was so good to the point where Marvel had to do it. That's how good it was.
9, 11, 7, 3.
Like, think about how good that would be.
Sable, you seem a little stressed. Can we do some relaxing breaths? In, out.
Tell me where to find Hammerhead.
Sable, I really don't want to beat up a gorgeous girl with beautiful testicles.
We can work together.
Together? Never.
What did I do wrong here? Wait, have you been listening to Jameson's podcast?
You are supposed to be the protector of this city. And yet you have allowed this Hammerhead to steal all of my weapons and supplies.
I didn't allow anything.
We didn't allow
I'm
anything.
trying to stop him from stealing your stuff.
Then you are failing.
Like, that movie is gonna be so good, chat. Like, we're getting introduced to the Devil's Breath Crisis.
Who knows? Perhaps you are secretly working with him.
Oh, and another thing we get introduced to is all of the DLC characters. Like, all of the DLC missions and stuff like that, but they would have to do them for, like, another movie.
Way or suffer the consequences.
Stay out of your way while you do what?
While I find and kill Hammerhead.
Good luck with that. He doesn't die so easily.
He has not met me.
Give me 1 second, I'm fighting Sable. Oh, okay, that backfired.
I can take her down if I get close.
Give me 1 second, I already know this fight. This fight was annoying on Ultimate. Okay, here we go. But yeah, Chad, think about how good that is going to be. Like, we're going down the road of Insomniac Spider-Man, which is we're going down the path of Devil's Breath.
What happened to you? I thought you
Which
were a
is
good
an
guy.
insanely huge thing.
I am good at what I do.
Like, they are going down the Insomniac path of this, and I cannot wait. Which obviously means that in this universe,
I guess?
we are going to have a chance of getting introduced to Norman Osborn, but we are not going to have no Harry Osborn unless they figure out a way to incorporate him in there. Because that exact sign for Oscorp, I'm not sure if that's going to be in there, but obviously with the idea that we're going to get introduced to it is just insane.
Hey, MJ.
And on top of that, the appearance of Matt Murdock made it a lot more interesting.
My job's in things. So I imagine she's here to stop Hammerhead from stealing all her shipments, which is good. Maybe you guys can team up.
Yeah, that doesn't feel very likely at this point.
Listen, I'm gonna keep looking into the Simcaria store.
Like, think about that, chat. We are not gonna have no more upgraded suit. That's gonna be insane. Like, think about it, chat. We are not gonna have no upgraded suit. We are going to have, like, a legit, like, accurate version of him, which could mean that this suit is obviously has become a thing now in the MCU. And that would also mean that this suit right here would be probably in the first, or in Spider-Man 4 for the MCU. And for those guys who are wondering, I have multiple parts in the movie that are my favorite. It's just hard for me to name them. One being, one being the beginning. The beginning was obviously just fucking crazy. Like, the beginning was already crazy. Now, obviously, with the idea of that, that would mean that since he's obviously gonna have this suit, well, not this version of the suit, but you know, this version of the suit, they finally made Insomniac canon. Like, the MCU finally made Insomniac games like canon. Which means that probably in Spider-Man 2, we are going to get introduced to Kraven the Hunter if they are going to put it in there. Because the thing is, oh snap, and on top of that, Insomniac also confirmed that there's a crossover in No Way Home. And that's not even the suit. To me, them actually putting the suit in there just led us for an Easter egg. Even though the suit is actually insane, because I really like that suit. Like, I really do love that suit. Like, I love that suit so much. Like, there was never a dull moment, though. But we are going to be getting introduced to Morbius, which is said to be a good movie. So we are going to get Morbius in the MCU somehow. The only thing is for the fact that they made Insomniac canon to it now, which means that everybody can actually freak out, because now with Insomniac Spider-Man, like with the game being influenced into the movie, this means a whole lot of stuff that could happen. Like I said, like we obviously are going to get, you know, Mayor Osborn in the future. We're obviously going to get our own version of Doc Ock, which I can't wait. We're obviously going to get an MCU version of Doc Ock, who I think is probably going to end up being, who I think Peter's probably going to end up being his lab assistant to, if I'm not mistaken. Because, like, with, I don't know what MJ is going for in this, because remember, MJ said, I don't know what MJ is going for, because obviously this is college years, stuff like that. So that means that Tom's Peter Parker was originally 18 in this one. He's going to be 23 in the next one. Well, not, wait, how old is he when the movie ended? Probably like 18, 19. Yeah, that means that he's probably going to be, like, around there. Which means, hence the reason why he got that apartment. Because in that apartment, there were so many Easter eggs that could happen. Because think about it, when Spider-Man 4 lights up, or when Spider-Man 4 starts production, there is going to be like a reference to everything in that movie. Like, especially considering, think about the posters that are going to be for this movie. like all the posters, like. But seeing as that they are going the Insomniac route, there is like a huge chance that down the line in the movie, Peter is going to be fighting Kingpin at the start. That is confirmed that Peter's going to fight Kingpin at the start. I'm 100% that's going to happen. Because that is going to have to happen for the story to progress through Devil's Breath and Yuri Watanabe and stuff like that. Or they could introduce Horizon High, which I am very interested in them, or at least introducing Horizon to it. But that would also mean that we would get like our first ever like introduction to Shocker. Like so much could happen in that movie. Like obviously with Mr. Negative, we could introduce to Mr. Negative first. I wouldn't mind. But this also leaves us out for the raft for us to introduce Black Cat, because like I said, Peter doesn't have a love interest anymore. So with that black suit, he could possibly introduce to Black Cat, which could be an interesting story.
That conversation was going nowhere.
No, and he introduced a Screwball.
How did you...
Quick, head to 8th and Perlman before me and my fans die of boredom.
What is she up to this time? Better get
That's
there
literally
before
the
she
one thing that I'm
hurts
excited for. They left us off of a good ending. They left us off an ending that was insane to the point where if you guys are going to go see this movie, go check it out. Because I literally can't spoil much of the movie if you guys haven't seen it, but obviously this is a spoiler review, so you know. This is a spoiler review, so obviously there's going to be some things that I'm going to go crazy for.
Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, another thing that we can talk about is how J. Jonah Jameson is obvious. J.K. Simmons, J. Jonah, is going to end up being, you know, the one from Insomniac, the one that we know from the radio and stuff. Because what I'm thinking is that if Peter saves MJ, he's going to reveal his identity as, you know, I'm Spider-Man, stuff like that, you know.
Not really.
Aw, turn that frown upside down.
Which would lead, and I know that I'm playing like super far ahead, but that would leave us room for Miles Morales in, and after that, I'm pretty sure Miles Morales can come into the MCU, and that can start around Christmas time like the game did. And we would say, alright, and after that, and I'm pretty sure with Miles being introduced into the MCU, Peter and MJ would leave, or at least Peter and MJ would leave for Symkaria. While Miles deals with the Tinkerer being in New York City, which would mean that Finn would come back, which would mean, keep in mind, like during like after Spider-Man 4, we are going to be getting introduced to Miles, which would mean that the Tinkerer would be involved, which would mean that we would get introduced to Finn Mason. That would mean that Finn Mason is obviously going to be a huge part, because, like, think about it. If you guys haven't played Spider-Man Miles Morales, she is the Tinker. I'm predicting that's what's going to happen in a live-action Miles Morales movie. I'm predicting that's going to happen. Because if the ending of Spider-Man 4 is going to play off of the Devil's Breath accident and stuff like that, that means that there is a scene... Wait, hold up. With Aunt May, that scene can't happen. Wait, Aunt May's gone. Yeah, she's gone, so that means that can't happen. That would mean that Feast isn't even a thing in the universe. Or at least, wait a minute, yeah, it is. It should, wait. Yeah, it still is a thing in the MCU, but if they are going to...
Hey, don't leave.
They already put Beast in there. But since they already put Beast in there, wouldn't that mean that they would have to... That would mean that Peter would be running Feast, or at least Martin Lee would be running Feast then.
I really need to shut this
That would
train
mean
down.
that Peter would crawl into Martin Lee's
Bomb duty.
office and figure out that he's Mr. Negative. Which will lead to a confrontation with him and Negative, which would give us an introduction to everything else. Like, you know, him saving Kingpin's employees. Oh my god. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Stay tuned, everyone. We've got a photobomb coming up.
So that should already, like, I'm calling it chat right now, like, all of the guesses towards that ending can only lead towards one thing. I know that's night in there, but if we are going to get a beginning similar to the game, then that would mean that there's going to be a lot of stuff that is going to be similar, because I believe that that suit was insanely too similar.
Oh, come on! You can do better than that!
But at the same time, I really don't believe that the suits are similar, because they obviously went the Insomniac route.
OMG, you couldn't get much closer if you tried!
Oh my gosh!
What? You think they're just gonna leave it out in plain sight?
Okay, we're taking a picture right there.
Wow, what a great shot!
But with this though, like, there's so many possibilities about this too. Like, there's multiple possibilities. Like, seeing as that we are going down this path, like I said, we are going to get introduced to a Mayor Osborn.
10 seconds. Look! Could have done better.
Which is what I can't wait. Like, there's so much stuff that could happen. Like we like I said, we are gonna have the Devil's Breath crisis.
Sorry we got cut short earlier. Had to deal with Screwball again.
Since we are gonna have the Devil's Breath crisis in this one, there is obviously gonna be so much that's gonna happen. But like I said, we could get introduced to, like I said, the stock Ock. Like, if there is going to be Ock in this universe, it's going to be that. It's going to be insane.
Well done.
Thank you.
There's obviously going to be an Electro in this universe as well.
Then I'll call you when I find something challenging.
Like, there is going to have.
Do some Spidey stuff.
Like, there can't be an Electro in this one. There can't be an Electro in this one, which means that we would also be getting introduced to Scorpion. Because the thing is, we got introduced to Scorpion towards the end of Homecoming, or we got introduced to Scorpion at the end of Homecoming.
All units, report of truck
And with
driver
the introduction of Scorpion, that leaves us open to more.
Could be Hammerheads, guys. Better check it out.
Because think about it, the Raft already exists in the MCU, I'm pretty sure. The Raft has to exist in the MCU.
Hey, Peter. Just checking in. You busy?
Okay, so it does exist in the MCU, okay.
You mean school assignments or spider assignments?
Both, but school comes first.
I'm all caught up on school
Okay,
stuff,
so the
and I'm
Raft
working
does
on
exist in the
spider
MCU.
assignments now.
So that would mean
Why are you
that
making me do
obviously
physics
that's
and
where
calculus equations?
most of Spider-Man's
Shouldn't I
villains
be
are going to be
practicing
kept.
with web shooters and gadgets and stuff?
That means that most of his villains are obviously going to escape, which means that Vulture is going to end up escaping, which is going to be very interesting. I'm pretty sure, like,
But why does that matter?
with this third one, or like with this first one, they really can't put a lot in there. They can only put one villain in there, which means that if they're going down that path, there is going to have to be
Equations in your head like
Mr. Negative or Dr. Octopus for that one, so they could be working together.
And so will you if you want to get good
So there
at it.
should be two villains, because like I said, this Spider-Man completely leveled up. Tom Spider-Man completely leveled up from, you know, this one that we saw. Like, he completely leveled up to, like, the first one that we saw in Homecoming, which was the Stark suit, which he no longer relies on no more. So now he's building his own tech. To the one that we know from the video game itself. So that means that down the line we are getting introduced, and that means that towards the like mid of the game or something like that, if they do that scene, that means that Doc is going to tell Peter that that means that Peter is gonna have, or else Dr. Octopus is probably gonna guess that he's Spider-Man's suit crafter, which would give him the access or something along the sort. That means that Peter's going to fall asleep, and while Doc is up, that means that he is going to be making this advanced suit for Peter. Which would mean that we would get introduced to, you know, certain other abilities, like say the battle focus or whatever. Like he could teach him, like, he's obviously gonna have a computer and everything in there, which would mean that he would get introduced to the battle focus. You know, he would get introduced to all of these other types of abilities that he can do. At least that's what I'm thinking that's gonna happen in the MCU for Spider-Man 4. Because seeing as that, like I said, guys, seeing as that they took the Insomniac route, it seems like that's the route that they just took. Because if they took that route, then that means that we're, like I said, we're obviously going to introduce to a Kingpin fight at the beginning, and we are pretty much going to be heavy influenced by the fact that Dr. Octopus wants to work on the neurocortex, which will give Peter the opportunity for him to work alongside Peter, and down the line, he is obviously going to betray him and end up going to the raft to free all the villains that Peter's locked up over the years. So there's obviously going to be another one for that specific purpose. There's obviously going to be another one for that specific purpose. Now for Electro, I'm going to say... Hold on, let me actually open up a Word doc. No, I don't want to open a Word doc. There's a whole bunch of stuff that could happen in Spider-Man 4. I'm like, this is going to be insane. Like, it left us off on such a good ending. Like, it left us off on, like, such a good ending. Like, it left us off on, like, such a good ending. Like, it left us off on, like, such a good cliffhanger ending. But the only issue is that with that cliffhanger ending, that is pretty much going to lead us into everything that we know in, obviously, in Spider-Man PS4. Or PlayStation for Insomniac Spider-Man. Also, while you guys are in here, make sure you guys hit that like button. Because with Insomniac Spider-Man coming into play, and with him no longer relying on tech, that means he's going to have to rely on something else. Like, seeing as that they did go down this path, that means, regardless or not, that means that there is still a chance of us getting introduced to Miles. Well, like I said, this all comes back around, and we could end up meeting Miles, like, during the Devil's Breath crisis, which means, like, say, during that scene in Feast where everybody's sick and they're put on, like, all this other stuff. There's a spider that's obviously going to be somehow in some way on MJ's shoulder that ends up crawling down and biting Miles.
Gotta get to that driver before they do.
So down the line, we are getting introduced to Miles, which is confirmed for it to be IRL or like a live action movie for him.
There's more guys coming.
Which is what I cannot wait for. Because now we got the Spider-Man that we wanted from Tom Holland, which, by the way, guarantee you guys, I went back and rewatched I'm calling it right now. Tom Holland is a GOAT Spider-Man. Like, I really do like them all, but like after seeing that movie, Tom's a GOAT Spider-Man. Because the thing is, about it, chat, we already have a Miles Morales animated movie. What if that spell, what if Strange's spell somehow counteracted and you see Tom Holland's Peter Parker just go into that, right? This can also lead us into, say, whatever you want it to lead into. Because obviously, in this next one, I guarantee you he's going to be dealing with the Devil's Breath crisis. Like, he's gonna have to be dealing with what happened in the Devil's Breath, which means that all of his villains are gonna be on the loose. Like, think about it, chat. Like, that means that technology is still going to be heavily influenced by Spider-Man right now. Like, in the next movie, that is pretty much guaranteed that he's gonna have a lot more tech.
Thanks, Spider-Man. That was a close one.
They also made Daredevil. They also made Daredevil a lot more. They pretty much made Daredevil make sense. Because think about it, like, he's never ever, like, Peter's never ever had to deal with, like, his identity being outed to the public like that.
Hammerhead guys are hitting an Oscorp shipping facility near Seaport.
Got it. I'm headed there now.
Question for you. We know Hammerhead stole most of the Sable weapons already, and a bunch of equipment from police lockup. Now he's stealing Sable tech that's bound for Syncaria.
Which is what I cannot wait for. Like, the whole entire movie is gonna be so good. Like, Spider-Man 4 is already in development, and right after seeing this movie, the ending was just so good.
See if I can't nail down a location.
Good plan.
And I guarantee you that is the future for Tom Holland Spider-Man. That has to be the future for Holland. That has to be 100% the future for Holland, considering that they wanted Insomniac Spider-Man already in there. But nobody expected it to be like that, because like I said, chat, I was in Witty's chat saying this too. If you guys didn't know, I was actually in Witty's chat saying this. I don't know if I said this in there, but the ending was getting rewritten several times as they were filming. But I did not expect to see, you know, an Insomniac adaptation.
Hey, don't leave. I just got here.
Like, that threw me off guard. Since they are going into Insomniac,
You guys sure seem like you're in a hurry.
that means that there's going to be several things that are going to happen. Like, for example, in this one, like I said, in this one, Peter's 20. Like, in his, like, he was like 23 in this one. Which will mean that somewhere down the line,
Now stay here while I go help your friends.
at least what I'm thinking, is that
Gotta catch up to that other truck.
MJ is going to end up being a photographer, working for a Daily Bugle, or a lot of photographer working for a Daily Bugle. She's probably gonna end up being a reporter for the Daily Bugle or something like that. Not like Jameson or nothing like that.
Fine, you win this round. And your prize is a one-way ticket to Rikers. Okay, just 2 more.
Ooh, we can cut this dude off. Like, think about all the good stuff they're going to get in the next like couple years, chat. Like for example, with this Devil's Breath Crisis, like with the Devil's Breath arc that's coming up,
kill someone.
That's going to be crazy.
What the hell is that thing? Just get us out of here.
No, not the park.
Shooting at us. Yeah, no kidding. Drive faster.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, sorry about that fruit platter. Looks really good. If you guys had stopped earlier, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. Okay, back to the chase. Sable, what are you doing? You're just escalating things. Let me handle the rest of these guys.
No.
Oh my God, Sable.
Oh, great, more of them. Whoa, what are they shooting? You guys really gotta find another line of work. Although maybe you have good work-life balance. Who am I to judge? There. Now stop stealing stuff. Stop tearing apart the whole financial district. Can't wait to hear from Jameson after this one.
Roger that. Here they come.
Hammerhead's got drones.
Hammerhead's got drones
He's
now.
really into modernizing his workforce. Those drones are going after Sable. I should help her, right? Right.
Oh, the web shooters all the way up.
One down. Sorry, drones. Gotta go.
Nope.
And run.
Oh my gosh. How'd that drone not... There we go.
Copy that. Here come the rest of them.
If I could land on the wing, I could use both web shooters. Sable, I just want to make it very clear. I'm trying to help you right now. Get off. Sure thing. As soon as I take out the rest of these drones. Hey, Sable, you're all clear now. Don't make me pull this hover jet. I'll just assume silence means thank you in Simkari. Okay, now on that last truck.
Yes! Hold on a second, Ty. I gotta change title. But yeah, Chad, there's so much that could be happening. Like,
If I talk, he'll come.
obviously, Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We're on the road at 100. We're gonna hit 100 subscribers very soon.
Trust me.
Right. We work together. Like partners.
Yeah. Partners.
Yeah, partners.
So you'll call me? I am 77% sure she's not a robot.
Attention units, there's an assault in progress.
That doesn't sound good. Better check it out.
I thought there's like too much that can be going on in that movie next. Because like with that whole entire Devil's Death Crisis, that means that I'm pretty sure if they are doing this, that means that during the time between
Done with your assignments?
Yeah, and I can see why it's so
that means
important.
somewhat during the time
I took a look
between
at those whip shooters in your bag.
everything else. That means I don't know how the story worked. I'm not sure how the story would work.
What are you doing in my bag?
Yeah, I'm sorry if my Spider-Man
Hammerhead's crew have a sable agent pinned down.
PlayStation Insomniac knowledge is
Exactly
not
a fair
working.
Fight. Let's even the odds a bit.
But when Electro was caught, or like prior to, you know, him being caught. I'm trying to think. Like before Electro was even caught, he said something. But since they are doing the Insomniac path, that means that they are going to have to put all of like... Obviously they can't do Sinister Six because there's not really much of 6 villains here. Because I think they did they did do Sinister 5. Because like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so they added Mr. Negative in place of that. Okay, I can see what they did. Okay, so that would mean that we would be getting Martin Lee. We would be getting Mr. Negative. At least for like the first movie, which obviously ended up being like the big bad. Well, at least I think it was Doc Ock that ended up becoming the big bad. So since Tom's Peter now understands that he can't kill. That would mean that obviously whenever it comes to Doc's going to be a different story. That would mean that whenever it comes to Dr. Octopus, he's going to become a different story. That would mean, like I said, that would mean also down the line we would be getting introduced to Felicia Hardy and seeing how their relationship would go ahead and go flourish and stuff like that. We would obviously have to figure out a way how Vulture worked, because Vulture was literally Tom Holland Spider-Man's first catch. So that's going to be interesting to see how that play out. If they get Michael Keaton to come back, that's going to play out differently. There's also an introduction to the Rhino, which Rhino could come in there, but I don't know if Rhino is actually going to be coming in there. At least Santa Claus. Now, obviously, guys, this could lead us straight into a Miles Morales in real life movie. This could be a live action movie of Miles Morales coming up right after this, because if they are doing the Devil's Breath scenario in the movie, that means that during that whole entire Devil's Breath, Miles gets bitten by that spider, becomes Spider-Man, which would mean that we'd be getting introduced to Ben Mason, which will end up being the Tinkerer. And we already been introduced to Aaron Davis already, so he would be Prowler. So that would mean that since they're going down this path, Miles will be getting introduced. We will be introduced to Miles Morales, obviously in the movie, which will lead us into a scene where Peter's moving into a new apartment, which would then make Miles do the exact same scene from the campaign where he does the exact same, where Miles says, "Peter, there's something to talk to you about." It's like, oh, and after that he just jumps onto the roof, and Peter looks up at him, smiles, like say like Tom smiles at him, right? And he goes, and then after that they both end up going on the roof and say like, yeah, not weird at all. Like, think about all the scenes that we could get here between those two interacting. Give me 1 second, Charlie, be right back. Like, there's just so much that they could fill in. Because what I'm guessing is that Spider-Man 4 is going to come first, and after that you have Spider-Man Untitled. Because, like, the thing is, with this one, it would have to be Untitled. Excuse me again. This one would have to be Untitled. It would have to be Untitled because they can't put... Because the thing is, Spider-Man 4 is already confirmed for the MCU, right? That would mean that down the line, we would be getting a Miles movie followed up with that since they're going in the Insomniac's path. And I think Insomniac waited... What year? I know that Miles Morales came out last year, so that means that, That means that... If my timing is correct, then that means that somewhere down the line we should be getting a Miles Morales. We should be getting a Miles Morales movie with his Spider-Man origin story, and you know, meeting Genki, meeting Finn. Because by this time, Miles is already going to be bitten by the spider. So by the time this all has happened, that means that Jefferson Davis has already, you know, did his thing with Mayor Osborn, has already been, you know, granted as, you know, say, you know, for saving obviously Spider-Man and helping him out with chasing down, you know, the Mr. Negative's guys and stuff like that. We could also be introduced to the Devil's Verse situation, which could end up going crazy, but the only thing is, for a fact, like, I don't know how they're gonna play it, because obviously I don't mean that Martin Lee would be the one to be in control of Feast. That means he would be the CEO of Feast, which would also mean that Peter would be the operations manager, because since Aunt May is now gone, or is rest in peace to Aunt May is gone. Rest in peace to Aunt May. But that would mean that if May is gone, that means that Peter would be the one that is going to be head of operations. That's going to be the operations manager at Feast. So that means that he would be research assistant and working at Feast. You see what I'm saying? Because Aunt May is the operations manager, so that means that Peter would be operations manager at Feast. And through that, and after Miles, and after Jefferson Davis dies, that means that obviously we're gonna go down the path, and we're gonna obviously have Rio become, you know, Miles's moral compass, and down the line, that's going to eventually lead us into work for Feast. Which then there he gets bitten by the spider that MJ got from obviously Norman's lab. He becomes Spider-Man, reveals his identity, or reveals it to Peter that he has spider abilities and stuff like that, which would lead us into Christmas, where you have Peter is around like probably like 25 during that time. I'm pretty sure like 25 during that time. And we end up getting Miles Morales as a Spider-Man. So they can do it if they're going down this path with Insomniac, and they're lining up. So if my time is correct, they are lining it up with the game. They are lining it up with the games, which means that we are going to be introduced to Miles Morales in Spider-Man 4. Now on for the movie review. I know that we covered Spider-Man 4 first, but heads up, purple spoilers. I literally loved the movie. Tom is literally amazing. Zendaya's MJ was played off good. Confirmed that her last name is actually Watson. Michelle Jones Watson is now confirmed as MJ Watson's full name is now her MJ is so good. Her MJ was so good. And the fact that you had all the Spider-Man reacting to each other, like you legit, like that fight, like I knew they were there. Like it was already, like chat, I already knew that they were already there. If you guys haven't checked out my video where I already knew that they were there, check it out. It is insane. I already knew it. I already knew it. I already knew it. I already knew it. Like there's no way that the lizard will be open like that. Like I called it too. Everybody called it. Especially, oh, and by the way, fun fact for this one too, guys, if you guys did not know, this is like way before I even started making a YouTube channel. Like I was like really heavy into Spider-Man information and stuff like that. Like I was heavy, like I was just heavy into it. I predicted that Electro was gonna come back because the thing is, for a fact, like back whenever TASM 2 was announced, or back when TASM 2 came out into the theaters and stuff like that, I think right after. Shout out to 7 Webheads, by the way. I used to watch him live. If you guys haven't seen him already, I'll leave a link down in the description below. He changed his name and stuff like that, but his videos are still good. They gave me so much information and stuff. But I predicted that there was a Sinister 6 movie. Well, technically someone else predicted there was a Sinister 6 movie, but you know, that was like ages ago or something like that. But with the Sinister 6 movie, they were originally supposed to have, like during that whole entire tease, like at the end for Garfield's for TASM 2, they teased, well, Rhino was already a dead giveaway, but they teased Vulture, Mysterio, Dr. Octopus, and Scorpion. And obviously Green Goblin, who was supposed to, well, obviously that's confirmed now. And also Dan DeHaan's Green Goblin that was supposed to lead it. But seeing as that did not happen in this movie so far, this movie was still hands down good. Like it was hands down so like, oh my gosh, dude, like all of them sitting there, all of them looking at each other, bro. Like all of them looking at each other was just so good. Like all of them looking at each other was just so good. Now for Electro, I already knew that he wasn't I already knew that he wasn't going to be gone. It felt like he was not dead to me. Because, like, he's electricity. You can't kill electricity. But he somehow got transported into another dimension. So, well, he somehow got transported into the MCU. Along with Sandman being able to protect, like, this current Peter. Because I'm guessing, like, it was so weird to see, like, all of them back. Because it just felt so good to see them again. Like, it was like one of the worst kept secrets in Hollywood. You know what I'm saying? It was one of the worst kept secrets in Marvel history. Like, they made a real life Spider-Verse happen. It was so like, especially that scene when Andrew came in. So that means that TASM 3 is back on the table. That means that TASM 3 is back on the table then. That means that the Amazing Spider-Man 3 should be back on the table because originally it got canceled. So if Amazing Spider-Man 3 is back on the table, then that would mean that Andrew Spider-Man could come back. That means that Andrew could come back because the movie was canceled in 2018. Because the thing is, right after Gwen's death, it was him fighting the Rhino, right? Which would obviously mean that this is back on the table. So we still are going to get a Mysterio for Sony. So that means that Sony is going to, I'm guessing, possibly that means that Andrew Garfield's going to be Sony Spider-Man, and that brings up Spider-Man 4 again. So obviously that means that Sony's going to be working on 2 new projects. Well, 1 more for Toby, 1 more for Andrew. Because originally what was supposed to happen in this one, if you guys didn't know, Andrew was supposed to get the black suit in this one, along with the fact that we also get introduced to Andrew Garfield's version, or Andrew Garfield's universe's MJ. That means that we would get introduced to the Sony version of MJ and not the MCU version of MJ. And on top of that, not to mention they teased Miles. They teased Miles. That means that Miles is in the MCU. Because think about it, chat, we already have the Prowler in there. We already have Aaron Davis in there. That means that Miles is confirmed to be in the MCU. Which is what I can't wait to see, because like I said, down this road, and I'm predicting it too. Like, I'm predicting it too. Everything that I'm saying, I'm predicting it too. Because with Spider-Man 4, since they're going down Insomniac route, like I said, that means that Peter is going to be, that means that the whole entire Devil's Breath is going to become a thing. That means that we're going to be introduced to a version of Doc Ock. We're going to be introduced to Silver Sable. We're probably going to be introduced to, my guess, I'm going to take a guess. I'm going to say that it's obviously either, my guess is for villains and stuff like that, it's probably going to end up being a toss-up between Scorpion or Mr. Negative, because if seeing that they are going down this path, Mr. Negative would be the perfect one. Because think about it, Peter's never had to deal with, you know, a person with powers and a whole entire group. And we could also see Black Cat, we could also see, you know, Black Cat being in there, you know, as like a second love interest with the black suit. But other than that, guys, let me know your thoughts down in the description below, as well as hit that subscribe button. I am out of here. If you guys haven't, make sure you guys hit that like button. We're on the road to 100 very, very soon. And I'll see you guys later. And let me know what you guys think about all of my theories down for Spider-Man 4 and Spider-Man and a Miles Morales live-action Spider-Man movie down the road, because I am predicting it right now. So let me know what you guys think, and let me know how you guys feel about that. Leave a like on the live stream. Peace out, everybody.